Alright, hey guys, what's up, and welcome back to Literally Everything, the channel where we talk about literally everything. And today we're going to be talking about movies, and specifically Poor Things. And I'm just going to say right off the bat, this movie really took me by surprise. This is, I'm just going to say right now, one of the best movies of the year. Like, probably top 5 movie of the year for me. Which is a huge surprise because I'm not really a big fan of Yorgos Lanthimos' thing. I feel like the rest of his movies have been, I thought, were kind of okay to not great. I know I'm kind of in the minority there, but that's just how I felt about some of the other ones. So I went into this one kind of feeling a little hesitant. But as soon as it started, literally from the first shot through the end of the movie, I really, really loved this. So let's talk about it. So Poor Things stars Emma Stone in kind of almost like a reverse Frankenstein kind of role, where Willem Dafoe is this kind of crazy scientist who's kind of like pieced together as if he's kind of the Frankenstein's monster, but he creates this woman. And I don't want to give anything away as far as kind of how he does that and what it all means, but essentially he creates this woman who is in an adult body, who is Emma Stone, and she is essentially, even though she's in an adult body, she has the mental capacity of like an infant. And she's learning really, really quickly, but they've got to kind of teach her all of these things. And eventually, as you see in the trailer, she runs away with Mark Ruffalo and kind of discovers what the real world is like. And that's all I'm really going to say about the story, but I do just want to say that Poor Things is just so well constructed with so many kind of thematic undertones throughout all of that story, as far as women taking control of their bodies, kind of what it means to essentially like think of it as skipping out on your childhood and just experiencing everything about the world as a kind of a blank slate, and also kind of like some kind of like nature versus nurture-ish messages in there too, as far as like what makes a person. And obviously all of that's capped off with some really great performances. The whole cast is incredible here, but obviously they're led by Emma Stone. She's the one everybody's talking about, everybody's going to keep talking about, and deservedly so, because she's just doing this really incredible like progression from basically like almost no real thought, kind of a blank slate, all the way through each step until by the end she's almost this like eloquently spoken full like woman. And it's just like, it's really interesting watching it, and also just thinking about like production wise, like how she was able to keep track of all of that, obviously with film shooting kind of all over the place in terms of the script. I think that's just a really impressive accomplishment both on her part and Yorgos's part. And then there's also Mark Ruffalo. He's great in it. Willem Dafoe, Christopher Abbott, Rami. The whole cast is just really, really great from top to bottom. And I do want to talk too about the cinematography, because this is probably some of the best cinematography of the year. It's really what draws you in from that very first shot all the way through the end. There's just so much, especially in the color sections. There's so much contrast and just so many like rich colors. And they're also like, there's this weird kind of fantastical thing where they're like, it's almost like if you think about like when you shoot on a GoPro and there's just that crazy fisheye effect. It's almost like they shot on a GoPro, but it's film, and it obviously looks good. I mean shooting on a GoPro in a positive sense in this case, because it just adds this weird warped like fantastical element to things, where even in the parts that seem like they could be kind of real world adjacent, it's just like there's something off kilter. And where some similar films have tried to accomplish this kind of fantastical element by having these like weird canted angles or having like no straight lines in the production design, this just has this fairly simple, super wide fisheye lens that just like, even in the scenes that seem kind of like real world adjacent, everything just seems a little bit off. And I thought that really worked in this instance. Like, again, I'm using the GoPro as a positive for this, which I know is not common, but I really mean it like in the best way possible. So with all that praise in the way, there's not too much in the way of negatives. But I will say that the pacing kind of goes a little off at some points. Specifically, I think like in the third act, this is kind of a 5-act kind of structure. And around the third act, kind of the main parts with Mark Ruffalo, there just gets to be a point where I feel like we're stuck in the same moment for a long time, where she feels a certain way, he feels a certain way. and just nothing is we just keep hitting that same thing over and over again, and it kind of slows down. And then luckily it does move past that. After a while, it just felt like it took a long time to get out of that kind of cycle. And I know why they held on it for a long time, because it is kind of important to that relationship. It just seemed like it went on for too long to me. And then I think everything after that also felt slow, just because that had felt so slow that the movie felt longer than it really was. And there is a really, this, when you think this movie's going to end, it doesn't. And in that way, it's both a positive and a negative, because like I said, by that point, the movie has already felt like it's really long. It feels like it's winding down. And so then you start thinking, like, how long have I been in here? When am I going to leave? But having said that, I did think everything after that was really, really great. I thought it ends on a really, really high note. Like I said, I loved this movie. I think my only real issue with it in any way was just that pacing. I thought if the pacing were just a little bit tighter, this movie was a little bit shorter, this would have been, this already is possibly like a 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. I think if the pacing were a little bit better, it could have been, 4.5, possibly 5 instead of 4, maybe 4.5. But having said that, this is a top 5 movie of the year for me to this point, and we're already so close to the end of the year that, that's probably where it's going to stay. I can't imagine too much is going to push it off of that. So that's all I really have to say about Poor Things, guys. So if you have anything to say, feel free to drop it in the comments. If you agree, you disagree, let me know how you feel. And most of all, if you like this and you want to see more content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe.